It's not fun to sit here again as early. I think it was two part of the season. I'm really excited how we finish up here. With the mindset of the players and the coaching staff, the communication within the group, the structure, the details we were able to play with, improving our practice habits, seeing there's we're on the same page in Vancouver and down in Abbotsford, and watching some of the younger players develop down in Abbotsford, and some of the younger players getting a chance to showcase himself up here in Vancouver was important for us the second half. So in the end of the day, it's for me being here a year and a half, it's a step forward. Again, I think the players understand how we going to have the culture and the standard moving forward. So the exit meetings here was very positive, and I think the players understand what it takes for them to be prepared for training camp. So it's a big summer for all the players.
Patrick, when Elias met with us the other day, he said 4 words that you probably wanted to hear. He said, "I like it here." You're facing probably a landmark contract extension with him at some point. What is that process going to be like? I mean, obviously, he's under contract for another year, but he's one of your most important players. And to send him and the fan base the right message, can that get done this summer? And how soon will you start talking to J.P. Barry?
Well, I'm glad Elias say more than 4 words to me. So I have good communication with Elias here, and even going back to last year when we first started to work together here, and the communication we had leading into summer, and the importance for him to be prepared, and I think he really took a big step here in maturity. And for the most of the year, really impressive two-way hockey, really impressive how he carried this team and also helped other players around him to get better. I've been talking to Elias here, and we're going to continue to talk, and I'm very optimistic, and I just believe that he's scratching the surface here. There is more for him to come. Hitting 100 points is great. But again, for him, it's learning how to do that after 82 games. That's where you're going to get more respect in this league. And I think Elias and Quinn, the same there. They're just scratching the surface, and I'm very excited with the people I have here in place to help those guys be able to take the next step.
One of your mandates, which is a mandate for any GM in the league, is to try to create more cap space. You look at your roster, you have a lot of wingers. My curiosity is, Brock had a pretty good second year, especially under Rick's tutelage. I mean, he came a couple points short of his career high. Where are you with Brock in the sense of, you've said before, you don't want to give up on a younger player, and a pretty good second half. What do you make of that?
No, I think, as I said, I feel for Brock. I mean, he went through a tough summer, family-wise, off the ice. Got injured early in training camp, struggling the first half. I think his mindset. Given credit, though, he pushed himself hard, and the last 2 months, I think he played his best hockey since I got here a year ago. I think he understands that there's need to be changes in his off-season training to come prepare for training camp and get his name back. But again, he's in an age where he should be able to take a next step if he's willing to sacrifice and put the time in the summer.
Rick, when you sat there on January 22nd, one of the first things you said was, I have to find a way to back off the ice time of my top guys. And then you played the wheels off Hughes and Petey and Miller. Did you come to the realization that you had to do that as the best chance to win hockey games? Or at this time next year, when you're hoping to be in the playoffs and you want them to have something left in the tank, what's the strategy moving forward with your top end guys?
Well, I think as the process was going, they deserved it. They deserved it over other guys. And And I think that, you know, the PK was really bad here. And when, you know, I send those two guys out, it started to get some traction. Other guys started being better in the PK, so that helped. The 5-on-5 play from other guys helped. I thought Quinn Hughes, who played a lot, he elevated his game to another level. So it was hard for me to back those guys off. You know, for me to go in there and back those guys off, I don't know, you know, there's integrity and character, and I think they saw that they were responding to what we were doing, and I couldn't back off. And I wanted to push the other guys to fight for ice time. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of my feeling.
You were able to do it for 36 games. Can you do it for 82 games, though?
For those guys? Yeah. Well, I mean, that's 4.5 months off. You train for it. You know, there's going to be it's not just those guys. It's our team. We have to go to uncomfortable levels and pain to get to the way we want to play to be in shape. Yeah. I mean, you know, but obviously we have to have other guys fill the minutes. Absolutely. I mean, if I'm going to play those, you mean play those three guys every night the same? Absolutely not. But to win hockey games, those guys are going to have to get a lion's share of ice time for sure.
Patrick, getting back to your opening statement, you talked about the structure that you saw under Rick. You talked about the practice habits, testament to what you did. But I'm curious about the decision to win a bunch of meaningless games instead of staying where you were, which was probably, I think it was sitting sixth from the bottom, a better playoff spot. Could you not gain the structure? Could you not get those habits in training camp and in the preseason to ensure a better playoff position or drafting position?
Well, we all know that's not a guarantee, but I think at the point where we made the changes, we felt, and Rich touched on it, and on our core guys that were trending the wrong way. The energy level here, walking into Rogers Arena, there wasn't much of a trust. We felt that when Rick was available, and he was at that point, that was the right choice for us. Changing the culture, taking a step, changing the standard, getting the players to continue to push themselves and improve. We had a very depleted lineup the second half here, where guys were shut down with injuries, and we tested a couple other, younger goalies. Seeloffs get a lot of ice time here as well, as same as the back end. A couple of defensemen stepped up here. So I have a lot of respect for the players in this league and the integrity of the players and in the league. I think, we approached it here that this is a mindset moving forward, and the players really responded well.
So how much has the mindset changed, keeping in mind that you only moved out one core piece? You still pretty much kept the same core intact, but you're dealing with those issues with those players. How much have you looked at that core? And then second question for you, Rick, you spoke a lot about conditioning and guys getting in better shape come September, showing up here to play. Was it alarming to you to see what you inherited with the state of some of the players' condition?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not throwing anyone under the bus. I just know from my past success, I've had failures myself and successes. There's a level of fitness that you have to achieve to go to the levels you want. And no, they weren't at that level. Are we getting there? I hope so, but no.
Well, again, I think that the biggest thing was to build in the trust here for the players, to feel safe, and that's the environment we want to create. When the players open up, they're going to feel trusted here. They're going to know what their role and responsibility is, and it's my job to communicate with the coaching staff how we're going to run this team moving forward. And I think the coaching staff have built it in a fairly short period of time, the trust from the players that they enjoy walking back in here. They enjoy being in practice. They enjoy, getting teaching, communication, and pushing themselves harder. So it's credit to the players that they responded really well. But again, we got 4.5 months off here, so our message to the players yesterday, what are we going to do here in the summer? It's up to you guys, where you guys can dictate where this team is going. And I'm excited with the response from the players, but I'm sure we're going to, continue to work with the players. The coaching staff will continue to work with the players during the summer, different ways to do it, and see where we are.
Patrick, it seemed clear right from the end of last season, from public comments made by you and Jim, and over the months that came after that, you really felt that coaching was an issue. There was culture issues, there was system issues, preparation issues. Why did it take so long to make a coaching change, especially when the team got off to such a bad start to the season?
Well, first and foremost, I felt that Bruce earned his way to coach the team another year. I mean, with him coming in here last year and the record he had and the job he did, he definitely earned his way to coach the team. You again want to give him a chance to get this team going, see how the players responded, and some of the injuries were related to the bumpy start we had there, the little bit of inconsistency as well. But as the season went on, I felt that we weren't connected as a group and a team in here, and that's where I felt that needed to be a change. And as I said, I went through a process, and I felt that Rick was the right fit for this group moving forward, and at that point he was available.
Given the response from the fan base and from people around the league, do you have regrets over how the coaching change was handled?
I think Jim touched on that when we did the press conference there. It's never, when you do a coaching change mid-season, it's never a perfect way. But until everything is on paper and everything is done, that's just unfortunate. But there was no intention of hurting anybody's feelings or anything like that.
Patrick, over here, just wanted to follow up on Ben's question earlier about Elias and the contract. You talked about his growth and things like that. You've still got another year of club control on the player after next season. So I know you said you're going to talk. How big of a priority is it for you to get an extension done this offseason?
Well, as I said, you're right. We have, I believe, 2 years that we control him. And I mean, it's for me, working with Elias here for a year and a couple of months, we're just starting to build the trust and the relationship here. And I think the players, the leadership group here understand my vision and or process of becoming a contender here. And I think the way they responded, especially Quinn, Elias, and JT was pretty impressive. So I think they were excited. Again, when we'll sit down here this summer with his camp and his agents, and I'm familiar with his Swedish agent as well. So I'm excited. But I don't know when we're going to get, the signature on the paper there. It's a process, obviously.
Question probably best served for Jim, but he's not here. Buyouts, do you expect them to be a part of what you're able to do to fix this team's cap situation this offseason?
My intention is not to use buyouts. I get the support from Jim and the ownership here to be, to put a competitive team in place here. But my vision too is like, if you do buyouts now, they might affect you down the road. And I just think that this group is touching the surface of becoming a good team. So I don't want to use buyouts if we don't have to. I don't want to use buyouts. It's going to affect us in a couple of years when this group is actually hopefully taking off. So as I said, the intention is not using buyouts at this point.
Rick, you talked a lot over the last few weeks about wanting some of your players to stay in Vancouver so you can be a part of their off-season training. After going through the end-of-season meetings with them, are you expecting that to be a reality, be the case, that some guys will spend some time here?
I've had our exit meetings. A lot of guys are going to try to make some trips here when they can, come back earlier. So it's our job to make sure that, we have things in place for them to train. But yeah, JT Miller, Husey, and Petey have talked about spearheading that, which excites me. Wherever I've gone, even as a player, the teams that kind of come early and train together usually are successful. So I give them a lot of credit because they're spearhead it.
Patrick, when you spoke earlier this year, when Rick was unveiled, you talked about it not being a quick fix here. Jim, has talked about the need for major surgery. Obviously, you've made some notable changes to your roster. How far along is that process? How many more changes do you think need to be made heading into this offseason to improve the supporting cast around the core group that you have here?
Yeah, we made strides here. I think some of the younger guys or rookies took a big step here under Rick this last 2 months. I'm excited about the players down in Abbotsford. We have been able to attract a lot of younger players to come and play for the Canucks here. Our staff have done a really good job. I'm very happy with the development staff who put the place here, working with the younger players. This will be a big step for younger players to compete in in American League playoffs, and hopefully learn what it takes to be in a playoff environment here and grow by that. We're hopeful that there's going to be more internal competition coming into training camp here. But yeah, we acknowledge there is some holes in our lineup that we need to fill this summer.
Patrick, Ethan Bear, since coming over, was a pretty good acquisition for you guys. You obviously have a decision to make on him, and he's due for a raise here. Do you believe that he can be a top 4 defender for a playoff team, and how much and where do you stand in terms of the priority to retain him or not? Yeah, no, I think Ethan, had a little bit of inconsistent season. He had his injury here when he got his puck to his mouth there. I think Ethan. First and foremost, we're happy to come to Vancouver and play here. I do think that there is more to come from Ethan with a good summer, getting in shape and learning how to play. We're excited about him, and we during the year we had conversations, and I respect that he wanted to take a step back and wait, and I'm not sure if he's worth a raise or not, but but he's a good person and a good player for him.
Rick, you've been here for 4 months now. Of course, I'm asking you as you take a sip of water, so apologies. You've been here for 4 months now. How do you assess where this team is at, and where do you see holes that you want filled over this
Has it been 4 months?
Almost.
Wow. Wow, okay.
I said
Well, listen, I'm not sitting here patting myself on the back at all. I got to get better as a coach. What I do like is the staff has really helped me, the guys that I brought in, the guys that have been here. The people around the organization has been great. And I give the players a lot of credit. It was a tough situation this year. So I give them a lot of credit how they've bounced back in certain respects. We know there's a lot of different narratives painted. Why didn't you tank, and is it just a coach's bump? And it's all the stuff we hear, and I love that stuff because that should fuel the players, and it fuels me. We can change the narratives to whatever people say. So, saying all that, it's been a great experience for me, a learning experience too, and dealing with some players and evaluating players. But we got a long way to go, and we all know that. And where we take it, it's up to us to change these narratives.
And Patrick, with the salary cap expected to not raise that much this summer, how difficult is it to make changes heading into the new campaign? Yeah,
I think we saw that during the year, that it's definitely harder to make changes, and we saw it coming down to the deadline here. Some of the playoffs teams, how difficult it is, and you're going to be creative. So I expect that's going to be the same thing this off season as well. And we got a lot of work ahead of us here, just to shave cap space to improve our team as well.
Patrick, related to the preparation aspect, the physical training, is there any update on a search for a practice facility?
I guess Jim should have been there. No, I think they're working and talking with our business side and the city, and I think that's something we would like to see moving forward.
You're, I think, only one of two teams that doesn't have their own practice facility. Do you think that puts you at a disadvantage?
Certainly make it a little bit harder, when the building is not available and as we have now construction here. But the players' mindset has been great. I mean, they want to be downtown. They love to be here at Rogers. But yes, I would think the city of Vancouver would be benefit of a second sheet of ice for sure. A lot of good youth hockey players here, so absolutely if the Canucks can help. So yeah.
Patrick, you've obviously invested a lot in sort of trying to supplement this core, even going back to last offseason when you, for example, re-signed JT Miller, now making the Rona trade. Going into this season, Bruce, for example, had said that it would be really disappointing if the team didn't make the playoffs this year. Given the level of short-term commitment, would it be a disappointment if you guys missed the playoffs next year?
I could tell you one thing. Every time myself and the coaching staff are walking in there, we're walking in with a mindset to get better and be a playoff contender. That's what we challenge each other every day to find solutions here. I'm a process-driven person, and I believe if we're going to make steps here, we're going to do the right things every single day. And starting next year, training camp, I think the coaching staff here got a head start here over the last, 4 months. And I'm excited about coming into training camp because their knowledge now about the players and what we need and how we need to play, and also for the players understanding what the coaches how they want to play. Our job is to get better from game 1 to game 82. I'm very excited about the core of good players that we have here, and I don't see a reason why we couldn't push coming into game 1 next year.
Just a reminder, please use your hands and let the microphone there. No problem. Thanks. Ryan Johnson said something on Friday in his interview with the play-by-play guy with Abbotsford, saying it's difficult to upgrade your team with free agents and trades. It's a lot easier to develop them in Abbotsford in your AHL team. Something you had a lot of success with your last organization that you worked with. How important was that this season, just getting these younger players into Abbotsford and seeing the success there? It
was very important for us, and important for us to build out the development staff so we had more resources for the younger players. I do believe that when I came in here a year ago, the big part was to restructure the hockey operations and build out the better foundation. And a big step was to get Jeremy Colleton in there to be a coach with his experience of developing players, coaching in the National Hockey League. Give Ryan Johnson a lot of credit. He's a guy that worked extremely hard and was a big part of the culture change here and the messaging to the younger players. It's very excited to have agents and players want to come and play in Vancouver Canucks, and even no issues at all. Understanding that the process of getting to Vancouver is going to go through Abbotsford. It's not going to be any shortcomings. The player's going to earn it, and it's our job to help the players to get invested and put the players in a position to succeed there.
Is that something you're going to try to communicate to some of the European prospects, the guys who develop in the SHL or Allsvenskan, Liga, KHL, whatever it is? Are you going to try and make an effort to get them over here sooner, like Philip Johansson as an example?
Well, I think every player is unique. I think the players dictate when they are ready. It's a big step. Either if you're coming from college or Europe, it needs to be your mental preparation needs to be there. It's tough. It should be tough. We're not rushing any players. The players would dictate to us through the development staff where they are in their development path and where they're ready to go. Philip, as an example, he felt that he wanted another year in Sweden was important for him. And our guys supported it, and Chris Higgins and Mike Komisarek and Michael Samuelson have done a tremendous job communicating and watching him during the year, and we're excited to have him in our system here.
Patrick, you acknowledged moments ago that your lineup has some holes that will need to be filled this summer. Are you able to share any insight on your early thinking on what some of those holes are for the moment and the evaluation process you and your staff will go through in determining what you need?
Yeah, I think, playing since Rick got in here and shutting down a couple players and giving some of the younger players an opportunity to have different roles and taking on different responsibilities is give us a little bit of a sense what we have here within the system. I do think that, obviously we haven't, a third line center is something that we're discussing here. Do we have that internally, or do we need to go outside to find that? We're excited about some of the younger guys on the back end there. Brispa, Juleson, Burroughs got a chance to play on the right side and fitting in the system here and did really well. Got a taste of Hiroshi, McWard, Ratty. So over the next couple of weeks, our job is to, Rick and I we had the players' exit meetings here. We're going to sit down and go through our lineup and our needs and potential and see what's available out there.
I think we all had a sense last offseason, sandpaper speed were what your team felt it needed more of. Is there any catchphrases, any sort of things that you're thinking over that you want to graft onto this roster as it stands?
No, Rick wants to play a north-south hockey, and speed is important ingredients there. And I think Nils Alman and Dakota Yasha had good endings here. The first-year guys, it's you're inconsistent, and you're learning what you need to improve on. And I think other guys too took some steps, and we got. In that regards, Nils Höglander being down in Abbotsford here, that will probably suit pretty well how we want to play moving forward. So, I mean, the game is really fast. You see the top teams in the league, they're a fast transitioning team, and I think those are the areas that we're going to stay focused on.
We had an opportunity to chat with Tanner a couple days ago. Between Tanner and Tucker Pullman, do you have any updates? Are you expecting them to try and resume their playing careers next season?
I think that's, and I think Tanner probably touched on it. It's unfortunately a little bit too early to see where they are. I do feel for both of those guys. It's sad to see when players have to go through that. Our hope with our medical staff and our support staff here is to help those guys to get back first and foremost to a normal life, and then secondly support them in the off-season training here.
I've got one question for Rick and two for you, Patrick. I'll start with you, Rick. I know there's a lot that will go into trying to resume where you left off this year, at the start of next year. But what, to you, is the single most important thing about sustainability? What's the one thing that you think is the most?
Empowering that leadership group, take them to a different level is something that is a priority for me that they've worked on with me and the staff. So that's pretty well the one thing that I guess that's the priority for me, because it's gonna feed everything else.
And Patrick, you and Jim have said many times about, the need to create some cap flexibility. And assuming that is still a priority, to find a way to find more flexibility, does what Brock told us on Saturday about not wanting a trade, does it really change anything for you? Because you may still have to make a trade of a player with a contract to create that flexibility. Does it change anything for you, what Brock said?
Well, I was very pleased in all the exit meetings to hear the response from the players and the excitement moving forward and want to be here. again, we acknowledge we're sitting here in April where we, next year want to play. So my job is to improve my team here, and part of it is to be creative and finding flexibility there. We acknowledge we weren't good enough, so there's going to be some changes.
And I guess Jim had a big press conference after the Pearson was shut down to talk about the medical staff. Obviously, you have a lot of expertise on your medical staff, not necessarily a lot of pro hockey experience before this season. Will you review the medical staff? Do you think you need to review how things were handled and whether you need to add anybody to that group?
Well, we reviewing constant or players and our staff to get better. I think our medical staff had faced a lot of different injuries during the year. I think they worked extremely hard, get players back. Very pleased with the response from the players regarding the medical staff, and it's on us to make sure we have what the players need around here. Staff members wise, so yeah, that's something we're talking about, and see if there is extra people that needed to be added or not.
I have one for Rick and one for Patrick. Rick, when you look at your center ice position, just a follow-up on what was said earlier, you've got guys with a year left, some bottom six guys, and you were playing Miller on the wing, and of course he's a center by trade. Having said all that, do you feel the need that at the third line center position that you may need to do something there? I mean, it's a pivotal position. Do you think you need help there?
Yeah, that's the one thing with the relationship with Patrick. We both need, we both know that the third line center is a pivotal role. Whether it's a couple of guys we have, can they fill that role, or we have to go get it? But yeah, would I like a guy to take some face-offs for us other than Petey or Millsy, save them? Yeah, that's a priority for us. Whether it's, we have to develop that guy here or we find it. That's kind of how I look at it.
With what you have in the system, would it kind of maybe going after a UFA who maybe on a short term, an older guy who could really help you in that regard, not only kind of steady the ship, but be better in the circle, maybe helping the peak?
Yeah, better, exactly. Face-offs, a grittier guy, a guy that can settle things down for sure. They're hard to find. That's why it's my job is it Niels Allman? We got to get him to work this summer on his face-offs. That's something that he's got to work on. Is it somebody else? I think that's a big key. Instead of me, throwing Millsy or Pete over the time to do face-offs, give them some juice in the offensive zone. So yeah, that's we've talked. That's the one thing we talk about, communicate all the time. We're on the same page, Patrick and I.
Rick, for you, you got to see some young players get their NHL debuts under your view. How much of a boost is it for those guys to get that opportunity heading into next season where they want to win jobs? They got to play for you in a game. I mean, it's a little different for them and a guy like Niels Höglander who didn't get that opportunity for you.
I think it's huge because they get a taste of the NHL pace games. What's it going to take? I think in my exit meetings, they even said they didn't expect it this fast. Saying that, I was really impressed how they dealt with it. Some of the games I get, meaningless games sometimes are different. I get that, but I still believe that the taste that they got is going to give them a huge head start. The game's going to be a little bit, it's obviously going to be fast, but a little bit slower for them in training because they spent the month with us. So yeah, they got a baptism, which is big for us, and they handled themselves as pros. It just adds to the depth of our D when you put those two kids in the depth where that there's potential. And I know, Gotch and Footy really are, obviously myself, are really excited that there's something there with those two kids.
Patrick, getting back to getting the support, the secondary players that you want to have to make this team a playoff contender. We've talked about a third-line center. With your team that you have, we've talked about all season long how tough it is to shed salary. In your mind, to get this team to where it is and adding the pieces, how much do you think you're going to have to carve out salary in the summertime to get the bodies that you need? And then secondly, How big is this summer for you and your management team with what this organization has gone through the last year?
Well, again, I think we probably just 5 or 6 games away from being a playoff team right now, point-wise. That being said, though, it's a process how you do things. Yeah, you can go out and win games and come into the playoffs, but we all know if you don't do the right things every day, that's not going to be sustainable. And I think the biggest thing for us is the players understand how we need to practice and how we need to play every day in order to be a playoff team. For me, coming here, watching the players think they want to play the A game when you're going to score a home run every night. You don't need to do that. In this league, you're going to learn how to play a B game on a Tuesday night where winning is important. I think that's a mindset for the players here. Yes, again, I'm not saying I want to sit here and have cap space and not being good. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, how can I find, hockey deals, lateral moves to improve our club? How do we create a roster here where the young players feel trusted and comfortable walking into this dressing room and game 55 pushing the older guys that they want to be part of this. I think those are the mindset and the culture and the standard we want to create here.
Question for Patrick. How do you evaluate Oliver Ekman-Larsson's season this year before he got hurt, and what role do you think he can play on your team next year?
He had a tough summer. He decided to go to the World Championship and broke his foot there. I think he said it, started behind the 8 ball, wasn't able to skate. I thought he was very inconsistent. I do believe that Oliver, with the right mindset and the conversations we had here over the last couple of months, that he's willing to sacrifice to get his name back. I think that Oliver has potential to be still be a good NHL player. With the addition of Roenick and the game that Quinn Hughes is playing in right now, we need Oliver to support those younger players here. And having Adam Foote and Sergei Gonchar here working with Oliver and how we changed our defensive structure, I think it's his mindset and his willingness to show us that he's willing to get back to where he belongs in the top pairings here. I'm excited to see him coming into training camp.
And you've added some defensemen in the last year. Do you believe that you still need to change the mix on the back end, whether perhaps get more physical or maybe have some players more specialized on the penalty kill, for instance?
Well, it's something we're going to talk about here over the next couple of weeks. But again, I think it was great for this current staff to get a chance to get to know Burrows, Jules and Volanen, Hirose and McWard, like younger guys that came in and showed us what they're capable of. Saying that the emerge of Jet Wu down in Abbotsford has been playing very consistent down there. Philip Johansson coming in there as well. I think we have some good depth pieces, and with a good summer, I expect some of them to make our decisions harder at training camp.
Patrick, around the trade deadline, you did take some calls on JT Miller. We know that his no trade doesn't kick in until July. Obviously, he played some of his best hockey the last couple of months of the season. If teams call, will you listen? Is there a possibility?
I always listen to calls to improve our hockey club here. JT, again, since I got in here a year ago, I think he was traded everywhere, all the rumors. For him to block all that out, come back and be a big part of the leadership group here, the game or the last 30 games, how he played was pretty impressive. The two-way game, in my opinion, I think it's not that many player with that kind of skill set and the hardness in the league that JT Miller. So I'm very happy to have him here. But if anybody calls on, hey, Gretzky got traded too. I'm not saying I'm not going to trade him, but I'm very pleased to have JT Miller in Vancouver Canucks.
So sorry, are you going to trade JT Miller? Does a deadline like that one, though, where an MC kicks in, focus your thoughts about a player's spot in your core group? Because your club talks about him as a core player, evidently. You praised the last 30 games that he played, but does a deadline like that cause you to sort of up the urgency of an evaluation?
No, I mean, we signed the contract last year. We were pretty convinced that he was a good hockey player in the league, and just his consistency over the last, I believe, the last couple of years that he's been here, playing and pushing himself and how he conducts himself, there is no urgency.
We've talked Pettersson, Hughes, Miller, Seelovs, and Delia, but Demko and his usage down the stretch, his performance this season, we know how costly it was when your team was without him for 3 or 4 months. Do you have the space to add a veteran backup? Is that among your priorities this summer?
Well, again, we're going to meet here, but I'm encouraged by the process of Seelovs here. We still have Martin, and I don't anticipate spending a lot of money on that position. But I do think that we need to evaluate what we have here, and again, a big part of that is watching Abbotsford here in the playoffs.
Time for a couple more, guys.
Rick, when we talked to the players a couple days ago, a lot of them talked about you in particular and the changes you've made as a reason for optimism going forward, but they also mentioned your coaching staff as a whole, and a lot of them spoke about Sergei Gonchar and Adam Foote in particular. Just your thoughts on the coaching staff you've assembled here, how things have worked for you since you've arrived, and how confident you are in the coaches you have around you as well.
Yeah, I think some of the best coaches are not scared to hire guys better than yourself, They're just, you put a staff together, not so much they have your back and all that stuff, but they preach what you believe in winning hockey is, and that's what they do. We're going to spend a lot of time this summer, too, because I think there's better ways with this staff to even get better, to teach, to get the information to the players better, to practice better. I think we, as coaches, we have to think outside the box on how to coach. And I'm still learning myself, how can I get this group to play the style we want? Is there better ways to do it? So, yeah, this isn't like, as much as I give it to the players about, hey, this is a big summer, it's a big summer for the coaches. They're going to have some projects, too. We're not going to be lying on the beach for 4 months. Like, we got a lot of stuff to do ourselves. So, yeah, saying that, I'm really lucky because I got a lot of good guys behind there that have a lot of good, ideas. I like ideas and a lot of different ways of doing things instead of doing the same thing. I think you have to evolve as a coach.
Building off that question, do you expect your entire coaching staff to come back for next season?
Yeah, that's part of our agenda to evaluate our staff and go from there. There's a lot of guys here right now, so. Which I love. So we just, we'll talk to Patrick and Jim and have an evaluation. It happens every organization does that.
And Patrick, you've got a few Russian players who could be going back to Russia. Given the geopolitical situation that's going on, do you have any concerns about your players returning to Russia and whether or not they'll be able to get back to Vancouver?
As far as I know, I don't believe anybody will go back, but that's the information I have.
Patrick, Jack Rathbone started the season in the NHL. He got some games later on due to injuries. What's his path to the NHL for the club?
Yeah, no, I think, again, I didn't provide Jack a great opportunity early on. The team was struggling. He wasn't put in a position to succeed. Credit to Jack again. I think he went down there with a great mindset and was able to earn his way up here again and showcase himself for the new coaching staff. It's been a tough couple of years for Jack, but we're excited where he is, and he's definitely going to be in the mix here of competing about roster spots next year.
Patrick, it's a big week for this organization, I think, because what's happening in Abbotsford. We've seen a synergy, I think, this season that we haven't seen before. You've played guys who've come up here. We've seen guys develop. You've mentioned Guillaume Brisebois. How big is it for this organization to see the cupboard actually starting to fill up with prospects? Because that's been the knock. Have you had guys down there who have opened up your eyes thinking, you know what, maybe I don't need to go get a positional player because we're developing this one right here? Who have some of those guys been for you?
Yeah, no, very excited about the opportunity here for Abbotsford, and more so with the staff that I have now, the communication. The twins are up here working with the big guys and down in Abbotsford, and they really know the players really well, and the players feel comfortable too. Ryan Johnson have done a really good job. I've been impressed with a lot of players down there. Linus Karlsson is coming over from Sweden. I believe he played every single game there, which is a credit to him. I thought he had a good training camp, and Aatu Räty, another young player. He played World Juniors in August. Sometimes you forget how young they are. I think he's learning and growing in his role there. Baines is another player that took major step. I think he needs a good summer. We're excited about the college free agent signing in Max Hassan, getting a chance to learn the system and how we want to play, and I think it was the right step for him to go to Abbotsford right away. Höglander, got to remember Klimovic too. I mean, he scored 16 or 17 goals here. Being only 20 years old, he could still play junior hockey. You got to be patient with those guys. You're going to surround them with good older leaders and have enough coaches down there to work with them. So, and then on the back end, Jet Wu, Philip Johansson here, and Rathbone, those guys have been, according to the information I got, been really, really consistent and improving there. So definitely we're excited about this week and the first game here on Wednesday.